How do you cultivate self-awareness?
I think failure is by far and away the best way, right? I do think, failure is by far and away the best and most humbling experience in terms of, okay, I failed at something, and then revisiting what went wrong and why did it go wrong? Because rarely you fail from a lack of effort. It's more the skill of something, or again, or just not being open-minded enough and aware enough of what's happening around you. So I do feel like those moments of failure, and then course correcting on the back of that, I think they're by far and away the best ways of doing it. Again, it comes down to experience.
Right. Um, and in terms of frameworks to harness the lessons of failure, are there any patterns or general approaches that you've been exposed to that you really value, whether it's at Amazon, Deliveroo?
Yeah, I think there's always that. So the conversation around, fail often, fail fast, and I think there's a starting point which is probably don't start with the mindset of I'm going to fail. I think that's absolutely the wrong mindset. You want to start with the fact this is going to succeed. But I think cultivating a culture which is failure is okay, and actually failure is expected. If you're trying hard things, you will fail. I think that I don't think I've ever witnessed a child that's basically been born and started walking immediately and has not fallen over. Because like walking's a skill and you have to learn how to do it. And before you learn how to do it, you're going to fall over many times. And if we always got discouraged by a child falling down, then most people wouldn't walk because they'd always stay. We'd as a race we'd stay crawling. And I think organizations is kind of the same way. If you've got this environment where you can't fail, then you're going to build a crawling organization, not an organization that gets up on its feet and can run and can move and can keep on developing. And I think that that's probably the best way of thinking about organizations that do create this fear of failure. You're kind of holding your people down. You're keeping them on hands and knees, and then don't be surprised they don't move very fast. So I think you do need to create that again. It's bound down protection. If your people feel safe, they'll take risks, but not bet the company risks, because obviously that's you don't take too many of those. That's probably gambling. What you're doing is taking measured risks, and then you can reinvest, and when you see things are working, and you can dial it up a little bit and say, okay, well, at 5% this is working. What about at 15%? Oh yeah, this is still working. What about 25%, 30%? Don't always go straight to 100 and then realize that, oh, wait a minute, we just bankrupt the company. I think that's the bad form of risk.
How do you make people feel safe?
And I think we'll go back to the clock, for example. But the first thing is, I think it's it's very it's it's very easy to create a blame culture, and to get to a point where what went wrong, who made the mistake, why did you do that? The strange things I was watching recently, when you start asking people why, they'll just make up something because they feel obliged to give the why. Even if there's that they've not, they just have to answer the why question. I think what's more interesting is understanding what was the situation, what were the things that you did, and what were the inputs that didn't deliver the output you were expecting. And then it's like you can then question, well, did you do all of the right things, and therefore the output just wasn't as expected? And are there different things we can try? But if you start with the principle that people are trying to achieve success, then the best thing is, and you work on the belief of human nature, and most people are trying to do things well. Then you start back to, well, given that's true, they tried to succeed. These are all the things that they tried. Is there anything that either the timing was just wrong, or they just missed one or two pieces in there? And then what did you do to help them? Did you give them the skill? Did you give them the support? Did you give them the time? Did you give them the right environment? And I think that's the starting point as a leader: is what was my role in their failure? Did they have all the right equipment, everything that needed to do the environment? Were they well rested? Were they getting distracted by like emails at 11 o'clock at night that were not relevant to the thing they were doing? Did you create that environment for them to succeed? And I think when you start with yourself and the environment, then you're more forgiving of the outcome. And again, it's back to, okay, it's not the individual. They didn't go from being great to give the opportunity to do something to then fail. Something probably went wrong in the process.
There's a quote that I just came across from Robert Greenleaf, who writes a book on servant leadership, who talks about the great leader as seeing failure and difficulty, first of all, in himself, before, or at least looking at that from an internal perspective, taking the problems in his environment and looking at his responsibility in those first.
Yeah, and I think it's very true. Right? It's you're the senior person, the person creating the environment, the person almost supporting and managing prioritizations. And so if something fails, you have to start with yourself. And only at that point when you say, well, have I done everything to give this person, this group of people, this organization the best chance of success? And I think that's where it has to start.